Welcome to Corusnot, named so by the community because this place is, in fact, not Coruscant. And truly, at this point, it has yet to even be Corusnot, but over the course of this series, we will see it evolve into its own and watch its civilization develop. This is the Two Brothers Islands map made by ToadieZzz, and I'm incredibly pleased with the foundation it will provide for our playthrough. I've got a couple dozen mods active and around 3,000 assets, so let's call this a moderately modded setup. Over these next 5 episodes, we will follow the story of different groups to inhabit these lands, but where else to start but the first to discover the empty landscape? Our unnamed Jedi. In order to understand why they settled here, we must first recognize when they arrived. Our stories are told in a time set millennia before the tales and names you may be familiar with: Anakin, Luke, Leia, Rey, a time in history when technology was turning miracles into reality, but its full benefit had yet to expand across the universe. We'll touch more on technology soon, but first we must discuss magic. At least some were beginning to believe the magic was real. Most still thought it to be a hokey religion. Our primary character was trying to find their own understanding of this force within them. Trying to decide if they believed what they felt. And so they found themselves traveling here, with hope in their heart to avoid the influence of the world around them. Yet, as soon as they arrived, they began to affect the land they stood on. Or rather, the lack of it. Brimming with power they didn't understand and needing a way to channel it, they wrought the earth from beneath the water's surface and formed their own massive land. It took time for life to come forth from the soil, but when it did, it came in bounds. To balance the gentle nature of the green grass and vegetation, boulders emerged through the surface of the island and formed their own mounds and mesas. As our exponent continued to channel the force within them, their island began to teem with life. Forests grew, the stream that ran across the island developed its own ecosystem with reeds, lily pads, and small flowers. The islet could well soon be home to a host of mystical life. Giving the Force and its wielder time to take root in their new home, we have the opportunity to witness further the impact the movement of one simple character can make. Drawn by reasons difficult to narrow down, more of this prepossessing land would soon see itself inhabited. Many of these settlers came from worlds far away that had left them feeling unwanted, undeserving. Their hope to make a new name for themselves, carve out a new life for themselves, drove them to this seemingly uninhabited place. And yet, when they arrived, it did feel like something was emitting life, but they quickly dismissed any feelings of unease and began to build. The immigrants' population spanned from those who remembered the old technologies from their days growing up to the younger generation, keen to evolve and bring forward a new, untroubled way of life. As a result, their first settlement could be described as a melange. There was no apparent separation between classes' living quarters because in the beginning everyone did band together to make the transition to the New World possible. The mishmash of building styles was glossed over and accommodations were generally pleasant. Services were provided from a central building with just the schools being separate and comparatively quite grand. Providing their children the opportunity to learn and grow and bring something positive to the world was a priority for the people. This was a chance to refresh their social systems. But those systems would happen in their own time. The first priority was housing and accords for the new populace. Eventually, even this first neighborhood, if the Nomer were fitting, would find a place to build rows of homogeneous housing to be able to meet the demands of immigration. The idea of landing somewhere new had become a popular one. In fact, it had become popular enough that after a short time, there were whispers of moving further inland among the initial settlers, and plans were forming. But before such an undertaking could happen, sufficient infrastructure would need to be built. With significant effort from the sprouting community, a place was found around the back of the tallest mountain where water could be processed without disturbing the utopia so many had envisioned. It provided workplaces, sure, but they would take quite some traveling to get to each day. Perhaps in the future a form of rail could be provided for the residents that were now calling this world home. These facilities would provide the basic blueprint for future innovations on this world. The technologies used were relatively simple, but efficient and effective. Basic goods were manufactured in quantities sufficient enough to provide for the current population, supplemented by the water that was pumped into the plants, treated and infused with further nutrients, and distributed across the world to the new settlement. The basic infrastructure of inhabiting a new world had been implemented. Housing supplied, and education offered. All this built from the ground up while someone familiar only to us looked on. Our lone pioneer of these lands did not reveal themselves to the newcomers during their settlement. But they did sense the kindling of unease becoming present as the first sparks of wealth were introduced to the world, and those who held it sought somewhere more prestigious to call their home. We'll see how that unfolds in the next episode. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it, and for now, consider the question. If you picked up everything and moved to a new world to start a new life, what would be the best part of you that you would bring to the new experience? Remember, grooviness counts.